Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Chloe Olson, and I am an executive education program advisor for the MSc in Innovation and Entrepreneurship at HEC Paris. Innovation and entrepreneurship play a crucial role in creating value and ensuring the success and sustainability of companies throughout the world. And that's exactly why we have designed this degree program to meet the specific needs of business leaders in charge of innovation or business development, as well as experienced or aspiring entrepreneurs. Today, we are presenting the program experience, which is an overview of our MSIE program featuring Cheryl Morisseau, one of our program managers for the MSIE. We will then hear from Svenja Sommer, who teaches in the MBA and Rendez-Code programs. And lastly, we will hear from Cohort 3 alumni Christopher Roberts and Cohort 2 alumni Tomoyuki Maeda, after which time we will open up the floor to any questions that you may have. Just to give a brief introduction, Christopher Roberts is a serial entrepreneur, operations pro, and talented generalist with nearly 20 years of cross-industry experience in Europe and North America. Christopher began his career successfully overseeing operations at a number of high-profile five-star hotels across US and Europe. He then served as principal consultant in a boutique management consultancy firm. He is founder, co-founder, partner, or advisor to nearly 24 startups over the last decade. And by his own admission, Christopher is passionate by startups and teams with a proven track record of success and is currently an executive MBA candidate with Trinity Business School. Tomoyuki Maeda is a market representative for Flywheel Digital, as well as founder and CEO of Silicon Valley, Japan. He brings passion, entrepreneurial spirit, and a determination to find growth for global brands and provide best-in-class service with the Flywheel value and philosophy. Previously, Tomo spent 5 years building up the Japan and APAC media practice at Videology, an advanced TV and video advertising platform. In addition to his MSc in Innovation and Entrepreneurship from HEC, he is a graduate of the Y Combinator Startup School program and has established his own consultancy, Silicon Valley, Japan, helping global startups expand their businesses in Japan. Tomoyuki and Christopher, I think I speak for all of us today when I say I'm truly looking forward to hearing more about your professional and entrepreneurial journeys. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Please make sure that your microphones are muted. And if you have any questions during the webinar, you can type them into the chat box in your Zoom control panel. I'll bring them up during the presentation if it's necessary, but keep in mind we have a time reserved for Q&A at the end. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Cheryl, one of our amazing MSIE program managers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Chloe, for the introduction, and I'm really happy to be here today. So Chloe, what exactly would you like me to go over here?
I think we can just begin by giving a course overview, perhaps.
Yes. Okay. All right. Okay, so as Chloe mentioned, I am one of the program advisors for the MSIE program. I currently take care of cohort 7. And a program manager, we are basically act as your intermediary, your point of contact from A to Z. So from onboarding until the very end, till you receive your diploma and your transcript at the end of the program. So any questions you might have, the program manager can certainly help you. And if we aren't able to answer the questions for you, then we will certainly know the direction to point you in. So a quick overview of the program. As some of you might already know, the program begins with the fundamental phase, during which you'll take 10 courses. The fundamentals lasts for 6 months. And as you can see, the list of the 10 courses that are part of the fundamentals phase. I think Tomoyuki and Christopher will be able to answer for you, but the fundamentals is a very intense part of the program because given that it's only 6 months, usually students have 2 courses parallel, always at the same time, that last for 1 month each course. So for the first month, you'll have 2 courses, you'll do your final exams, and at the same time, you're beginning new courses. So it's very intense, though it only lasts for 6 months. And then you'll begin right away the team project phase, which lasts for 12 months, okay? And also during the team project phase, there are 10 courses, and here's the list of the 10 courses you have during the team project phase. This is kind of the exciting part of the program, because parallel to each course, you will be doing your team project. And that's a wonderful experience, like Christopher and Tomoyuki will be able to explain to you. During the team project, which lasts for 12 months, you'll have one course. So instead of the two traditional courses at the same time, you'll have only one course and your team project at the same time. Should I continue here, Chloe? Yeah.
If you want, we can just touch on just generally what the team project is for those who are unaware. So the goal really is to take a product, a brand, a service, an organization, really any idea that you have, and move it forward throughout that project phase. Another question that we get a lot is, how is the project selected? And essentially what will happen is, during the project period, if you have an idea, your program manager will arrange a time for you to pitch it to the rest of the cohort. The project that is selected is the one that attracts other people willing to join, knowing that group size is capped at 5 people. If nobody comes forward and is interested in your project idea, it will force you to reckon with either the viability of your idea or the effectiveness of your pitch, in which case you may choose to join the project group of somebody else. So we can just move on to admissions criteria. If Cheryl, you want to cover this?
Sure. So this is just a quick overview of the admissions criteria we are looking for in candidates to join our program. It is, of course, part of executive education, which means that a minimum of 5 years professional experience is required, along with a bachelor's degree. And obviously the entire program is in English. We have more than 40 different nationalities, I would say, just about for each of our cohorts. And so English is the working language. All of the courses, the content, the final exams, everything is in English. And those are the admissions criteria. As for the interface, I'll do this as well, Chloe. Yeah. Okay. So as you most likely already know, we are partnering, HEC is partnering with Coursera to provide our course content. For some of you who may already know Coursera, it's a very intuitive, user-friendly platform. And so all of our courses are here, including the team project phase course. It's considered a course, which is also here. It's very easy to follow. Every week or a module, you usually have graded assignments, be it graded quizzes or peer reviews at the end of every module. And then finally, at the end of the entire course, you will have the final exam, which is usually for 19 out of the 20 courses. It's the final exam contains 40 multiple choice questions. It's also through another platform, which is a partner called Examity. It's a proctoring platform that you will log on to take the final exam. So 40 multiple choice questions, and you'll have an hour and a half, and there will be a proctor, a person who is actually there with you on the other side of the camera, watching the entire time.
Great, thank you, Cheryl, for touching on that. And we may come back to you as students have questions, but I think now it's time to move over to Svenja to discuss a number of things, including, how the program is structured to enable graduates to succeed in their own entrepreneurial project, hopefully one day. So Svenja, I give the floor to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Svenja Sommer. I'm currently the academic director of this program, having taken over from Tom Astro a couple of years ago. I was asked to talk about a number of different topics, and first of all, why you should actually apply. What are we trying to offer with this program? And clearly, the first goal here is to provide a give you the skills to develop a new venture or an innovative project, to carry it forward, be it as an entrepreneur or inside an existing company. However, it's also what it gives you is a master's degree. So it's important to understand this, because it means also we are going to give you a bit of the theory behind some of the tools and that you're going to see in this program. I think what is very useful though is this combination of the courses that give you that theory with this project that Cheryl has already described. So again, this is a group project where you are asked to carry forward an idea, either a new venture idea or an entrepreneurial innovation idea. You're asked to carry it forward as a group, and you will get support from a coach who's going to be there to manage team dynamics. You don't necessarily know each other that well, so there's someone there to help you with that. And you'll get some intermediate feedback on your progress, so really help you learn, right, how to push this forward and how to apply some of the theories that you learned in the classes. I think the other very important benefit of this program is the community. Okay? You're going to meet some former students in a moment, but in general, just the opportunity to meet a very diverse set of people, more diverse than you would probably meet on even our very diverse in-class programs. Diverse in what? In terms of geographical location, in terms of past experiences, maybe also to some extent age, right? You saw we have a minimum requirement of 5 years of professional experience. And you see here in the facts and figures, the typical or the average experience is 13 years. So we do look for people with a lot more of experience, but we do have a few younger ones who compensate by having extensive, let's say, startup experience. And I think this combination of maybe a very young serial entrepreneur and a very experienced senior manager in a larger corporation, it's a nice mix because they can learn a lot from each other. So you have to be open, right, to learn from others. And I think then you can get a lot out of this. Now, in terms of the candidate, you already saw a little bit what the requirements are, but what are we really looking for? So what we want, I think the most important thing here is that you really have a strong interest in innovation and entrepreneurship. That sounds obvious, but from the applications, we see sometimes that people are looking really at general business skills. Right? This is not a general business program. Right? It's not like an MBA program at all. It's really focused on an entrepreneurial context. And so even though you see courses on marketing, on strategy, or finance, they're really targeted already onto this entrepreneurial context. Again, we're asking for at least 5 years work experience, professional work experience, for full-time experience. It's an executive education program, so this is really the minimum. However, I think what we're really looking for is any experience that you have already in the domain of innovation and entrepreneurship. So if you have already created your own company, you've given it a try, that's something you need to share with us, right, in your applications. But this is also something that you should share with your cohort once you're in, right? Again, the community that you get access to is a big benefit, and that's what you are bringing to the community, of course, as well. I also want to stress the good level of English, right? It's very important because you will meet people with various different accents, right? You already hear mine. You have to be able to understand people with different accents. You have to work closely in groups. You have to pitch a new venture. You have to pitch an entrepreneurial idea. So you have to be able to communicate very easily in English, yeah? That you don't have any problems speaking or understanding, but also in terms of afterwards writing reports, following courses. And finally, another very important skill that you have to have is to collaborate with others, right? Again, you're working on projects, so you need to be able to come to decisions together, right? Collaborate, listen to others, and really become part of a team. Last important part is probably how you manage time. It's important to mention, I'm not sure we did just in the early introduction, this is a program that runs on fixed deadlines. So like an on-campus course, you have certain deadlines and you have to meet those deadlines. So there's not the same flexibility as you might have in a certificate course. This is a master's degree. You have certain requirements, and among that is to follow courses in a certain pace. And while the deadlines are a little bit more flexible than they would be in an on-campus course, right, to get longer periods of time to submit things, there's still a fixed deadline at some point, and managing your time, being able to meet these deadlines is very important. Then I was asked to talk a little bit about your applications and what we're looking for. So in the application process, you will write essays and really take the time, make a serious effort on this. Don't just write 1 or 2 sentences in an English. It's just really, you just write without really reflecting on it. If you're making no effort in the application, we start wondering how much effort you're going to make on the classwork or in the group work, right? So do take your time, make a serious effort, and both in form and in content, right? To bring across why you want to do this program, why we should take you and maybe not someone else. What's also very important is to look at your references. And you want to get a little bit of an idea of your personality. Are you able to work in groups? Already said that's very, very important skill to have. So pick someone who knows you, like someone who knows your strengths, your weaknesses, and how you work in a professional environment. So don't pick your friends, right? But someone who you worked for or someone who you worked with, but who really knows you, how you're acting in a professional environment and is willing to also write about it, right? Someone who's willing to spend the time to write a little bit more than a couple of sentences. The third part that you'll have to do is videos. You have to record a video. And the reason is videos are very important for us in this program. First of all, you'll communicate via a digital interface with each other, right? So already being able to talk to a camera, to communicate in fluent English, that's important. But also in the project itself. Yeah, so in the project, at the end, you'll finish with a final pitch, the final video pitch. Everyone will have to participate. All group members will have to present. So you can't really burden a team with a team member who's not able to do that. Right? And think about it. If you're an aspiring innovator and entrepreneur, then you have to be able to sell your ideas. You have to sell your idea and yourself. Right? The team, the person pushing an idea is at least as important as the idea itself. Right? So you need to be able to present yourself, sell yourself. If you're unable to do that, well, then the question is, would you be able to sell an entrepreneurial idea, a product, a service, a brand at the end? And so do spend time thinking about the video pitch in terms of content. What is the main point you want to get across? What's the message you want to get across? But also in terms of technical setup, right? So make sure you have a good audio without background noise, no distracting background, right? So think about how you set it up technically as well. The video, again, is very important for us as well. Chloe, is there anything else?
No, I think you got everything. Thank you so much for touching on that. Well, now we have a few pre-prepared questions to launch into. So Christopher and Tomoyuki, I think what I'll do is just start to read them in order. And let me bring up your profiles here. Maybe we look at the LinkedIn. So I'll just start with the first question and maybe you can answer one by one. So I think naturally this is our first question when we talk on the phone as program advisors to potential candidates, which is why are you applying? But what we'll ask you is why did you apply to HEC's MSc in Innovation Entrepreneurship? And Christopher, do you want to get us started with that one?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I've been working in hotels and hospitality for years, and it had sort of transitioned to startups. But I still had holes in my education, and I was, I think, looking to fill out those gaps in my knowledge. And I also knew that I wanted to make the jump back over to Europe. I was working in the States at the time, so I was looking for sort of remote programs or hybrid programs that would have a really strong name and add brand credibility to my CV, but particularly in Europe, with that being the focus. And when I found HEC's program, I knew right away. You know, it was one of those things where I'd been looking at 10 schools and I found the program, and then I was looking at one school. It happened very quickly and ended up being a great fit for me.
Great, we're glad to hear that. Tomoyuki, would you like to answer the same question?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Yeah, the reason I choose HEC program is it has a very strong reputation in the business community across the world. And this program particularly is very flexible. And I had a small child and I was working at a startup company. So flexibility was really key. But through the learning, I found that actually it is much better than going to campus because you don't give up, you're working, and you can apply what you learn to the practice. And my commitment was to start my own company after graduating. So this was best choice for me. And I found very good friends as well as professional partners in this school. So I really enjoy joining, I should say.
Well, I think our next question is somewhat related to why did you choose to join? And it's why did you get an MSIE and not an MBA? And this is something that Svenja touched on, that they are very different programs. And yet we do get a lot of people who have already completed an MBA who are interested in MSIE. We have some former alumni who have completed an MSIE and then gone on to obtain their EMBA. And we have some people that just really want to differentiate between the two and understand what's a better fit for them professionally. So I think it would be helpful in understanding for both of you why you decided to do the MSIE and not the MBA. Were you considering an MBA, and how did you arrive at that decision?
So I had been considering an EMBA, and I've actually gone on, I'm doing an EMBA right now. But I started with the MSIE because I was looking for something much more focused on startups. I knew that was the industry I wanted to be in. And there are skill sets and knowledge that are really very specific to that sector. Classes in innovation and design thinking and things like that, they translate a little bit to corporate, but they translate much better to roles in the innovation world. So I focused on that with the MSIE. I chose a more focused program. Like Tomo, my commitment was I wanted to do a startup. I knew I wanted to launch something right on graduation, and ended up I did launch something with another member of my cohort. And now I'm looking for sort of general business knowledge that'll apply across industries and sort of senior leadership roles, looking to what my career might look like after I transition out of startups eventually. And I think for that, an MBA is a much better fit, right? If you're looking for very broad business knowledge that's applicable almost anywhere, an MBA is going to be what you're looking for. If you're looking specifically for innovation, entrepreneurship, and intrapreneurship, innovation within companies, something like the MSIE is probably going to be a great fit for you.
Yeah, I just like Christopher, I also consider to applying for MBA. I also respect people who is considering MBA because it can be complementary, and also it gives you a unique position. As she says, this entrepreneurship, I think, program really tailor you to prepare how you communicate with investor community or working with other co-founders, which is really secret. I think no one really help you, teach you if you're working. So this helps you prepare to become gives you wider knowledge to become an entrepreneur, really specific for prepare you to become starting up your company. So that's slightly different from, I think, MBA. But I think both MBA and master degree in entrepreneurship can work kind of like, together We help each other, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what, when we as program advisors, we have conversations with students, that's something that we're looking to find out. What are their professional goals in the next 5 and 10 years? What makes sense for them? And if we feel like an MBA is better suited, we will let them know that. So it really depends on the student specifically and what they're looking to get out of the program. So the next question is a little bit of a longer format, which is what was your experience in the program? What was the most rewarding part for you? And what did you appreciate the most?
My experience, I think it was intense in a really positive way, but it was intense. So the first 6 months, I think it was Cheryl who touched on it earlier. Very busy, right? You're thrown into it. You've got two classes every month. The deadlines come pretty quick. It's a very easy format to use, so I think the learning curve is not that steep, right? It's easy to adapt to, but it throws you right into the mix. And then after 6 months, you start on a group project, which is essentially like the last year of your program. About 6 months into my group project, COVID hit. Right, so all of this is sort of subject to real world experiences as well. And our cohort was based all over the world. People were impacted in different ways. Everybody has their own situation. Some people worked in corporate, some people with startups, some people had kids, and having to navigate that as a team, I think really gave me skills and resiliency that even now are sort of applicable. Having to manage that. I was working at the time for a startup in New York. We were very, very badly impacted by COVID. And having to help keep us afloat, keep up with new labor laws and things there, meet all of our project deadlines, work with my team to make sure that we were all doing okay. It was a really intense experience, but we learned a lot. The advisor we had on our group project was fantastic. Ultimately, we hit every checkpoint. We did our pitch. It went well, and the idea that we'd worked on for a year is now the startup that I'm in France for. So overall, really, really positive. And I think the most rewarding part of the program, the part that I appreciated the most, is the strength of the cohort. HEC is very, very good at picking the right people for the program, and our cohort was very strong. And yeah, I've made, I think, lifelong friends from it. It was a great experience.
Yes, especially I think project-based this program is really the core of this program. I really enjoy collaborate with our classmates and team members. I work with a team member from Holland and Brazil. So our time zone was a little bit difficult. Sometimes we choose. Everyone is working remotely. So, but because of the Coursera platform, it makes us quite helpful. And we had a coach member who support us. So although we encounter sometimes difficult conversation, we got the support from coaching, and that's when you feel really valuable about, I should say, has a very thoughtful program help you entrepreneurs understand and give advice. Of course, class programs that these are very helpful. For myself, I was in Japan, and I should say has a alumni community in Tokyo, and we have a occasion where you can participate if you're an ongoing student. So you get to see other people, other students or alumni get some advice. Some of the students actually showcase their project in our chapter locally in Tokyo. So it's really global, and also locally you might find friends, and it's you can practice just like a real life experience. So this is really good experience.
Thank you both for sharing. I think one of the reasons I love talking to our alumni so much is that this theme keeps coming back about the unity of the cohorts and how closely they become, not only socially, but professionally, that they continue to work together even after the program is finished. And so that's really great to hear. And I think that's, part of why we are so selective in that admissions process, is we're looking for candidates that will not only be successful during the program, but be successful afterwards as well. And so it's nice to hear that you all still are working together and meeting up across the world. And Christopher, I know you mentioned briefly that you are still actually working on the project that you launched during the project-based period of the MSIE. I would love to hear a little bit more about what your project was during the project-based period and where it is in its development stages now.
Absolutely. So during the project stages, it was a co-living startup focused on student populations. I think we recognized then, and I think COVID has actually sort of exacerbated the problem, that housing in urban areas for students is very, very difficult. It's very expensive, usually sort of far from campus, not necessarily in great areas. And for the 12 months of the program, that's what we went with. We've since expanded it to be sort of housing for young professionals. Because all people sort of, if you're in the 25 to 35 age bracket, a lot of that demographic is just priced out of good housing in urban areas. It's housing in Paris is incredibly expensive. Housing in Toulouse, where I am, is expensive. And I was in the States. I was between DC and New York when I was at school, and it's the same thing. It's next to impossible, right? So our solution was to provide sort of co-living situations where everybody has their own space. It's a safe, comfortable location. All utilities, blazing fast Wi-Fi, everything's included to minimize the hassle of getting set up and living comfortably in a major city. Coming over to France, I think that was, we're on the right track, because what's happened with COVID as the market fell out in sort of commercial real estate, a lot of private equity firms have started buying up sort of residential real estate en masse, and rental prices are going up. The problem is not getting better, it's getting worse. So I think we came in at just the right time. And the HEC name, I think, was probably instrumental in me getting over here and being able to get my startup visa and get established here. Like, it was absolutely key to the whole process.
Great. Well, but I mean, I know firsthand that housing prices in Paris are ridiculous, and that idea, I'm so excited to see it develop. Tomoyuki, could you tell us a little bit more about your project as well during the project phase?
Yes. So we had a plan to roll out one product for kind of healthcare solution through the SaaS platform. We wanted to build out a mindfulness program as a subscription. We end up not launching the project, the service. We went to pretty close to launching. We did have with a founder, how we want to divide the share, and these are very difficult conversation with the initial co-founders, and also learned about chemistry is very important. But to come up with a product that you want to roll out with. We had also someone who ran the engineering company, so we had a real planning for development cycle and launch plan. So it was really great, and also we had a chance to present it in front of 4 venture capitalists from Europe and Silicon Valley. So these are, I think, for me, prepare me for starting up my own entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. And something that we say is that the team project phase can be just as instructive for those projects that aren't moved forward as it is for those that are. The point of that project phase is to fail in a risk-free environment, to learn your lessons early so you don't have to learn them late. And our students really appreciate that, the fact that they get the opportunity to try things out, to explore team dynamics, to understand how to negotiate the division of shares between co-founders. So all these are questions that you'll get to explore and get to understand the dynamics of. I am cognizant that we are running out of time, so we may open up the floor to questions in the audience if there are any, and if we don't have very many audience questions, then I can come back because I still have some questions for the both of you that I would like to figure out. So if you do have a question, I ask that you will type ** hand up in the chat box. And if you already have typed a question, I ask that you do that now, and I'll go ahead and read your question. So just ** hand up in the chat box. Okay, well, I'm not seeing anybody do that, so I can just go ahead and read the questions that were typed earlier. So the first is, I'm currently attending the Master Track program. I understand that I won't need to retake the MTC courses if I join the MSIE. How will part 1 of MSIE look for an MTC graduate? I can go ahead and answer this one. So for those that have completed the MTC currently, there are 5 courses that take part. If you enter the MSIE and you're admitted to the MSIE, then you will not need to repeat the courses that you have already taken. And all of those courses that make up the MTC are part of the fundamentals, so those first 6 months. So during certain months, you won't be taking 2 courses, you'll just be taking 1. So it'll be about the same pace as the second part of the course during the project period. In addition, you'll have a reduced tuition fee, just subtracting from the total MSIE costs what you've already paid for the MTC. The next question we have is, I have 4.5 years of experience. Is there any chance I could be considered for the program? This one I can also go ahead and answer. So unfortunately, no, we do have a fairly strict 5-year minimum. And the reason for that is in pursuance of our accreditation status. And also because it takes part of the executive education department. So we're trying to make sure that we're limiting it to just a few people with 5 years experience, and trying to have the bulk of our class be people with a significant amount of professional experience. Svenja, I see you've raised your hand. Would you like to add in here?
I was just wanted to jump in, because one thing that we do see sometimes, though, that some candidates start with MTC, which takes some time as well, gives you already an impression of the program if you want to continue, and do that while you keep working, while you keep gaining additional experience, and then you meet that hurdle.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we do have people that apply with 4.5 years of experience. What we normally tell them is start with the MTC. It's a natural part of the MSIE anyway. It's the same courses. When you go on to the MSIE, if you do, you won't need to repeat those courses. And it'll give you a chance to evaluate the program, really determine whether or not it is a good fit for you, without, investing yourself in the next 18 months and the full cost of the MSIE. So, it both benefits you and benefits us in that we do get a candidate with the minimum amount of experience that we're looking for. The next question is, do we need to pay for access to Coursera on top of paying for the MSc? No. So that will be included in the cost of the MSc. They're really just our platform partners. So there's no mention of Coursera on the physical diploma that you receive, nor is there any mention of the fact that the degree was obtained online, because we are aware that there's still a stigma around online education, even though COVID has really shifted those dynamics and made it a lot more open and necessary for most schools. Next question. What the time for class? I am from Toronto, Canada. I want to know the schedule before I see it to see if it is doable for me. The classes are asynchronous, which means that the majority of lectures are pre-recorded and accessible at any time to you. That being said, there are 2 live sessions per course on average. And these will be recorded, so they will be accessible to you afterwards if you're unable to make them live. But the structure of the course is really oriented into making sure that people from a variety of different time zones are able to access the course material. I don't know if Christopher, Tomo, either of you want to touch on the accessibility of the course to people living in different time zones, since I know you both are.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say like 90% of the content was asynchronous or group work or things that can be done really at any time, right? There can be sort of hard deadlines, but you can do it at any time during the day within your schedule as long as you hit those deadlines. I think, 8 or 10 times during the course of the entire program. So during the course of the entire 18 months, there'd be like a weirdly timed webinar that meant that I had to get up a little bit early or stay up a little bit late. But broadly speaking, it's really accessible no matter where you are. Our group project team was in 2 of us in the States, 1 in Switzerland and 1 in Saudi Arabia. And, it worked for all of us.
Yes, Coursera is a wonderful platform. It helps you, your learning essence is all in one place. So it's very productive and you can go back to the video. For the team working collaboration, also all the past learnings also still accumulating. So you're like some of our work, cohort 1, 2 is still in there. You can also learn from other students. These are very good, I think, part of this program. Working with international colleagues is a really great way to, you understand about the time zone and be mindful about others. You can find a really good spot where all of people can get together. So, working with global team, you have a different perspective. So it's good for innovation as well.
Our next question is, are there ways for program participants with an actual startup beyond the classroom project to apply to the HEC Incubator / Startup Acceleration programs, such as the one at Session F in Paris? Svenja, would you like to touch on this question? I think you may be muted.
Can you repeat? It's disconnecting a little bit.
Are there ways for program participants with an actual startup beyond the classroom project to apply to the HEC Incubator and Startup Acceleration programs, such as the one at Session F in Paris?
So, upon being part of the MSIE, so part of HEC, having earned a certificate or master's degree, you do have the possibility to apply. It's not automatic, right? So it's not you're done with the program, you automatically get in there. You have to still apply, but it opens you that possibility, right? That link to HEC that you need to apply to Station F. And we do have some negotiations, but I don't know in what stage it is to maybe have even a track for former students. But still, there will be an application process behind, right? So you have to prove that you meet the standards of startups Station F would typically accept.
Of course, I think what we say is it opens the door, but it doesn't guarantee. And I think we're certainly still working on developing that connection between one of the largest incubators in Paris, which is hosted on the HEC campus, which is Station F, and our program, which is focused on innovation. So a real natural link to that incubator. The next question is there only one program start date per year? No, there are 2 program start dates per year. There's one in June and one in December. So our upcoming intake will be on December 14th, and the one that begins after that will be in June 2022. The next question is it same as on-campus program, or is there any difference? I would say the main substantial difference is that it is entirely conducted online. Otherwise, it's the same HEC professors, it's the same type of content, it's the same quality. The main substantive difference is that it's conducted online, and that will change the way that the teachers approach the content, I think, slightly, and it'll change the way that you are interpreting that content. But what we have found is it doesn't change the relationships that our students build amongst one another. What we've actually found, and I've been told that when we were hosting in-person graduation ceremonies for the MSIE, because it was COVID permitting, we found that when our students met each other in person for the first time, they seemed to be a lot closer than the students that had been studying together for 2 years in person. So it's kind of funny the way that you may work harder to sort of facilitate those online connections because you aren't meeting in person, whereas if you were, you wouldn't feel the need to reach out to somebody and ask about other side projects that they're working on. The next question is, I was pursuing Coursera MSc in Innovation Entrepreneurship. I get a lot of questions during study, seems never get reply. How can this be solved? If you are currently an MSIE student, you will have taken the onboarding course, and you'll know that we have a hotline email that you can email at any time, msie-support@hec.fr, and get all your questions answered fairly quickly. Is it fully online? Yes, 100% online. How much time commitment will it take per week? We have estimated that the average workload is anywhere between 15 and 20 hours of work per week. Obviously, this will vary depending on the student, their other commitments. Are they working full time? Do they have children? Their familiarity with the course content even. And the courses themselves will vary in difficulty from course to course. Some will be more time intensive than others. But I would like to hear from Christopher and Tomo on this question, actually. So how did you feel about the time commitment? Did you feel that it was manageable? Were you working during the course?
Yeah, so I was working all the way through. I had a full-time job with a startup in New York, so I was traveling for that. I found that the courses that I already had a background in were easier and less time intensive, where courses, with completely new subject matter, they just required a little more effort and a little more time for me to really fully grasp. And I suspect that would probably be the same for everybody, right? There are skills and things that you have more experience in that you're not going to need to put quite as much time into. And then there are going to be areas that you really want to spend more time sort of deep diving with. But broadly speaking, yeah, I think 15 hours was probably about right. That's probably what I spent sort of through the course of it.
Yes, I had a full-time job, and I had a 3-year-old boy. My wife really supportive during the program. I spend, yes, similar hours, around 15. Sometimes when I want to catch up with will be longer hours, I try to leverage what I learn and working together. So I think leveraging is really important. And but I think you can enjoy, and because the program is very flexible, you can find the time, sometimes take a break, you have to work sometimes, you have to commit on your client, but if you find the time, then go back, study again, that type of thing. And this is, I think Coursera is have a very good and easy UI. So I think that's why it's possible. You can download the content, use the apps to read. Sometimes actually, I was walking, doing exercise, and listen to professors, video recording. So I think this is made for like very flexible.
Right. And I think we've heard that from a lot of former students that don't underestimate the workload, because it certainly is a doozy. And you know, it just because it's online doesn't mean that it's any less time intensive than our other programs. But it is flexible, and where there is a will, there is a way. And entrepreneurs are adaptive. They are able to, you know, find that 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes in the day where they are able to get a quick amount of work done and then move on to the next project. And so developing really strong time management skills is going to be something that you'll need for this course, but it definitely is doable. And that's something that we hear from our students. We seem to have 2 questions about needing a background in innovation. Does a quant finance background qualify as well? How important is it to have prior startup or product innovation experience? I wouldn't say that it's make or break, but I would say that our admissions jury does like to see prior experience in an entrepreneurial project, even if it didn't succeed. Prior experience in innovation is quite helpful as well. But again, it's not a necessity. Svenja, would you like to add a point on this one?
Yes, and I think if you look at an application process, right, there are many different things that you're looking at. And indeed, if you have very extensive experience in a different field, that can be also something that can compensate for potentially not having that much innovation experience. However, when you do that, make really sure that in your essays or in your video, it comes across, why do you want to do this, right? Given your background, given your current work location, why do you want to move into this direction, so that the motivation is really clear, right? So again, different parts all count, parts can complement, and indeed it's not obligatory, but yes, we do like to have a large part of the cohort having at least some basic experience.
So our next question says, I'm a fashion designer from Sri Lanka. I might need all the details from the beginning. Is it possible to contact you all by email after the session? Yes, I will be putting my email in the chat box. And if you have any questions about what was discussed today, if you would like to discuss further and book a call with me to discuss whether the program might be a good fit for you, I'll put my email in the chat and you can reach out for that. In addition, we'll also be sending out a recording of this session and posting it on YouTube. So you'll all be receiving that link after the webinar is finished. And I'm cognizant that we're running short on time. So we're just going to answer 2-3 more questions. So if you have a really important one, get it in now. Next question reads, I'm an average student, but I have been working since my first year at university. I've launched my own NGO/NPO and also starting 2 software-based startups in Bangladesh. Can I get into the program at HEC? This is a great question. It sounds from the base that you have, a lot of good experience, but I wouldn't be able to determine right now whether or not you'd be admitted. I can only advise students on whether they should apply, and from there, it's really our admissions jury that makes that decision. But if you would like to know more about how compatible you are with the program, I would urge you to reach out to me via email and send your CV along so I have a clearer picture of what your experience is. The next question is an MSc in entrepreneurship innovation the same as an MBA specialized in entrepreneurship? I would say it depends on the MBA, but likely no. Each program is unique, and an MBA is really going to be more focused on general business, and that's not the aim of this program. One question says, is there financial aid available? If yes, where can I find info on this? So unfortunately, because we are such a recent program, we do not yet offer any sort of scholarships or tuition assistance. What we do offer is an early bird fee, which expired on September 20th. And that was a €1,950 reduction in the tuition costs. Another option that is available to our students is the ability to pay in installments. So if you are unable to make that payment upfront, you are able to pay the degree fees throughout the course of the program. And the last question here, I think I'm just gonna turn it over to Christopher and Tomo, because it was actually one of the questions on my list that we didn't have time to get to, which is, what advice do you have for somebody who's considering the MSIE program or is about to begin the MSIE program?
I think having clear goals when you go in and knowing what you want to get out of it is probably, I feel like that was probably the most important for me, right? Because there are going to be so many talented people in a cohort and so many things that present themselves that if you have a pretty clear idea of what you're going for, like I knew I wanted to come over here and I was looking for opportunities to come to Europe. And sure enough, I found several people in the cohort who were a good fit for that. So if you really think about your goals when you come in and work toward them, I think it can be sort of a really important springboard to get in there.
Yes. When I first started my own company, many people say no, but I think HEC program help you prepare and help me prepare. This is one thing I really like to advise is maybe set the goal to launch your company when you graduate or on the course in the course of graduate. You get a lot from school and your classmates and teachers. So my advice is to roll out your company service during the while you're attending this school.
Thank you, Tomo, for giving that piece of wisdom to those attending. And thank you again to Svenja and Cheryl for answering questions and contributing your knowledge about the MSIE, and for Christopher and Tomo for letting us know a little bit more about what you've been up to, your experience in the program, and of course, all the amazing projects on the horizon. It was such a pleasure having you with us. So this concludes our webinar, and thank you all for attending. We hope you have learned a lot and enjoyed this program experience. And as I said, I'll be putting my email in the chat box for those of you that want to learn more, want to follow up, would like to see an example syllabus. So I'm just sending that right now. And I will end the recording. Thank you again for joining, and I hope everybody else has a good rest of your day.
Good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much.